I'm the pint.
And I'm the water, and you're listening to A Cup of Tea.
A podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
While sharing a cup of tea with you.
Today's tea is sponsored by The Water. But technically by David's Tea, but also technically not sponsored.
Yeah.
It's just tea from David's Tea. What are we drinking?
We're drinking s'mores. I don't know the full name. I just know that it's something about s'mores, which was recommended to me by the sales lady at David's. And she said, "Oh, I love it, and you should steep it for like 20 minutes or something, and it can be super creamy." Yeah. Was it though?
It was. It was.
Oh my god, the loopholes here. Anyway, David's Tea s'mores. It's good. It's nice. If you have it with almond milk or oat, it can be really nice.
With almond milk?
Yeah.
What?
I swear.
No.
Yeah.
I've decided that I can't have tea or coffee with almond milk because it just overpowers the tea.
You have never said that with the, what is it? The raspberry rooibos? I've always made that with almond. Haha.
But still.
Anyway.
I would much rather have it again with oat. Because coconut, I think that you have the, it tastes like coconut thing.
Yeah.
A lot more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that oat is just the best.
It is. I agree with that. I think I was listening to an episode of The Daily where, I don't know what they were doing, but Michael Barbaro and started talking about getting coffee and something about oat milk and it being the OG substitute or something, and how in the pandemic, I don't know, but I remember his voice saying the oat milk thing. Oh, and how at the beginning of the pandemic, it was so hard to get oat milk because everybody wanted it and it became super expensive apparently. And yeah, I know. Anyway.
Cool. That's our tea.
Yes. And today, we're talking about...
What are we talking about?
Socializing in a new environment is what I'm going to call it.
All right. I think it's very accurate.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
So,
do you want to start?
Sure. I'll start. I'll get us started. So this conversation began. We started talking about this and we put a stop to it because we were like, this can be a cup of tea. And what it was is that I was saying to you that I was in therapy and I was talking about feeling like I was in high school all over again. Or rather, I started comparing my present self with my high school self. And my therapist was like, whoa. Stop it right there. Yeah. No. Don't compare. First, don't compare yourself in general, right? And then second, you've grown so much. You've learned so much. You're a totally different person now. Why are you regressing?
I was just going to ask, what made you, why the comparison?
Because in my mind, it feels very parallel right now. Being in Canada, in a new school with new people. So it takes me back a lot to when I moved back to Querétaro, and I was not 17, I was 15. So I was like, the age is almost, I feel like it's almost the same. But anyway, so I moved back and I didn't know anyone. And I was first thinking of going back to the Liceo, which is where I absolutely didn't know anybody. It was a small school where I had to stay for 6 months before starting high school again for the third time. But because I had lost a year, it was a mess. And so I got to the Liceo first. I didn't know anyone. I was in a classroom with three people. And I didn't particularly like them. And it was a challenge. Moving back here, not knowing anyone, being in a school that I didn't like.
Back here in Canada.
Yeah. And then having to, find my place there and starting to meet peoples. And then when I started high school the third time, I was trying to remember how I started having friends and how we met and how we became friends and how that started. Do
you remember how we met?
I kind of do. I think, okay, so from what I remember, which is probably not super accurate, I remember we had math for our first class.
Right.
With not Chayito. It was with some other guy.
Okay.
And so I went into the classroom. No, I was waiting outside, and then Lomeli came over, who's one of my best friends now. And then you came over, and we the three of us sat together along with Holland.
Oh, yeah.
In like a side of the classroom. And we started talking, and then it was the three of us, the girls, and then you also became friends with Holland at the same time. And then that sort of split up, and it was like, we were all still kind of friends, but it was more like you and I were friends, and then Amelie and I were friends.
Yeah.
And you were friends with Holland, and I wasn't so much friends with him. So yeah, it was.
It's cute to think about those days.
I know. So I was trying to think about it, like, how do I talk to people? How do I make friends? How do I overcome the social anxiety I can get sometimes? Especially because I think, so this has also been a period of relearning how I
interact.
Yeah. And I do
think due to the pandemic or separate from that?
No, I think there's a link to that as well. Like, because during the pandemic, I kept thinking of how I don't have any friends and I have no one to talk, which is not true. But it just gave me that feeling of, on the one hand, I'm never talking to anyone. I'm not socializing enough. And then on the other hand, I would keep seeing my friends over Zoom, and we would like FaceTime all the time. I saw more of my friends, especially more of the people that live somewhere else, more often during the pandemic than at other times, which was nice. Yeah, Jinx. But yeah, so then it did leave me with the feeling of a lack of socializing in general. And then coming here, I have found out that somebody told me, I think I've already said this, probably, that Vancouverites especially are very passive aggressive. Because
really?
Somebody from here told me that.
Interesting.
So
I don't think I've heard this before.
I don't know. It's about how they can be very nice, which is something that we've talked about.
Yes, nice.
But not that friendly. And then this person said that, and they're very self-absorbed, and everybody's in their own world, and they don't really care about you, and they can be really nice, like out in the world, but then complete assholes once you actually start talking to them, or you need something from someone.
Like nice and polite from afar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, the thing that I have seen, I don't know that I agree with that statement. I don't have enough information. But I can say that, and somebody said this also, which I found hilarious, that we had the same appreciation for it. The layer of, so if we think of, the layers that one has, where you have, your intimate layer is the one closest to you, and then you have like your friendships and maybe your family, and then you have like the outward one.
Like acquaintances?
Yeah. Well, their acquaintance layer is like the thickest, and then the friendship and the intimate one is like super close to them and small, and so it's very hard to peel through that layer of
to like get to be friends with someone.
Yeah, which I agree with that. It's hard to meet people. And actually, I was trying to explain this yesterday to my aunt. It's hard to meet people and then establish a real connection with somebody. Because I feel like most just say hi to you on the street, hold the door open for you, and niceties. But then there's no follow-up. or there's no, oh, let's meet for coffee and talk. Let's hang out at some other time. And the only experiences I've had with that actually right now have been with non-Canadian people.
Yeah.
Which I feel like are in the same boat, so it's easier to navigate.
Reach out, yeah.
Yes. So I was so going back to the high school self, it was also because being in residence, like in the school dorm, and hanging out with people that are mostly between 19 and 23 has so, like, the vibes are so different. It's really funny.
Really?
They're very, I feel like you wouldn't think so because it's not like, oh, they're babies, you know? No, not like they're super young or whatever.
I mean,
but they are. They have... There is a difference.
Palpable.
It's they want to party a lot more. And not that I don't. I really want to party. Like, I was talking to this guy the other day and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go to a rave or something.
Okay.
But it's just different. It's like they're living through it in a newer way, like newness. There's a newness to these experiences. Maybe.
For them.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's more, I don't know, I feel also because they are on the same boat, because they're all starting school, living outside of their house for the first time, or having all these experiences that bond them together. So for me, it's like, it's just different. We're in a different plane. So it's hard to connect sometimes. And so it can feel, I've had this experience and I've talked to my roommate about it, and she kind of has the same vibe, that there's these groups, it feels very high schooly, where there's groups of people and they hang out, and they sometimes can seem very shallow or very distant from, like, one group from another. So that's also contributed to the high school
vibes.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, it's a combination of my own experience and then what's happening around me, and liking a younger kid than me.
I see. I mean, that's not...
That has not to do with, like, it doesn't have anything to do with... I mean, it does, but...
I was going to say, like, you didn't like a younger guy when you were younger.
No, I didn't, yeah.
When we were younger, we liked older guys.
Yes. I mean, I still like older guys.
Right.
This is a funny experience, liking a younger guy.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway. Yes, that was that's what got us started on this path.
Right.
Basically.
What did your therapist, because I feel like we were getting there and there was, like, context. Was there something more than the, oh, don't compare yourself?
There was the dare to explore sort of advice or
meaning
challenge. I don't know.
I'm intrigued.
So I was saying, and I was very aware of the fact that I was avoiding also going out and talking to people. Because,
you were?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah. I was. Not
new people.
No.
Known people?
People in the cafeteria, for example, or in the dorm environment, where I knew some people that lived in my same floor or in the same building.
And you were avoiding them?
I wasn't avoiding them. I was just avoiding...
socializing.
No, I was avoiding uncomfortableness. I was avoiding going to the cafeteria and wondering where I was going to sit.
I see.
Which gave me, like, the high school feeling was skyrocketing there.
Sounds like.
So it was giving me anxiety going out for lunch.
Oh, no.
Or something. Like, where am I going to sit? Am I going to sit alone? Should I talk to someone? Should I not talk to someone? Should I just take the stuff back to my room, which most times I would be like, oh, I have so much to do. So it's fine. I can just go get it and get back to the room.
You know what? I'm just going to like cut in here.
Yeah.
The thing about having lunch. Okay, so I just started a new job where I'm very happy, especially after not having a job.
Yes.
But not just because I didn't have a job before, but because it's not that the job is particularly challenging or like meaningful. It is very nice and easy to do. You know, it's like customer servicey, being attentive to people, stuff like that. But then there's the lunch hour, right? And like when I first got to the job, I had like my training day, and there were these other 2 guys that were taking the training with me.
Yeah,
and,
I remember that.
Yeah, and like I had this picturesque idea of like, oh, what if we become friends and we hang out? It's like me and the guys, and like, you know, and they would be my friends from work because we met each other in the training and we're all starting this job together and things like that. One of them I haven't seen again, but that's because he's part-time and he works in a different floor. So like we never cross paths. Then there's the other one that I see almost every day because he somehow has like similar breaks than I do.
Okay.
He's also full-time. And so my quirky picture of like me and the guys being friends from work hasn't happened. But more than that, you know, at first I was really into, like, I had this attitude about it of, yeah, like I'm going to socialize, I'm going to be interested in what people have to say, I'm going to do the best that I can to like be part of this and have a nice environment and appreciate work and stuff like that. I was very sort of excited about this, meeting new people, because like you have school, but I have no, and Pablo has school, but I'm like, how do I meet new people, right? So at first I would try to sit with someone that I knew. And at that first day, it was okay because we were all getting to know each other. And there's the guy that I haven't seen again. He was very outgoing and like extroverted and like he carried the conversation very nicely. So it was easy to like carry the conversation with him, which I think he did the most, then me, and then the other people would answer basically, you know?
Yes.
And then after that, you know, the days after, where it was like regular work shift, your breaks, people are doing their thing. It was very interesting because people don't sit together.
How do they, like, so do you have a common room?
There is a common area with like a bunch of tables. And I thought it was very funny. Okay, so there was this day where I sat down and I was like, oh, whatever, come over here, you know, like let's have lunch together. And they sat on the table next to me, not on my table. Or the table in front, but like there was a table of difference between us. But they were talking to me, like they sat down with me at a different table.
What is that?
And then I noticed that everybody does that. Everybody sits at their own table, talking to each other from like corners of the room.
What?
I don't know if it's a COVID thing.
Oh, okay. It could be.
It could be, but at the same time, I'm like, there's no restriction. Nobody's.
I mean, okay. So right now, you know how in the office there's scenes where they're in the break room and there's 2 tables. So there's some times when somebody sits at one end of the back and then others sit by the door. I can sort of picture that situation, but it's still very weird.
It is very weird. It's a big common room. It's a big break room. Yeah. And there's like it looks a little bit like a diner. It has a little bit of a vibe, which is very cute. So there's like the bench seat and the table and then a chair. People could sit together.
Yeah.
And it just baffled me.
It is so weird.
First of all, the first thing that was that I specifically called someone to be like, sit with me.
Yeah.
And they specifically sat not in my table.
Yeah.
I thought it was the weirdest thing. Like, on the one hand, I wasn't, like, I didn't feel bad about it. It was just a surprise. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
But then I noticed that even though there's people that have been working there for like 7 years and people know each other and people talk and people say hello and they're like, oh, like I don't know how friends they are, but they're very friendly, something that and that we were talking about, that I'm very happy about this job. And one of the things that I was specifically looking for when looking for a new job was, and I told this to the guy that was interviewing me, I'm not looking for a career. I'm not looking for like the job that's going to make me rich. I'm working on my own thing and that can make me rich, hopefully. This is just, I want something that I'm happy to come to every day, that I can do, that I'm good at it. Yeah. This hobby or this service that I'm doing that brings money into my life so that I can do other things. Yeah. That's all I need out of this. Which I feel like it's very refreshing for me. Yeah. To think about a job in this way and not like, this is the job of my career that I have, so ostentatious. But anyways, we can circle back to that if you want.
Yes. I'm into that idea.
So that's what I was looking for in this job, right? That's what I told them. Yeah. And I'm very happy in this job. Like I said, the people are very friendly. Yeah. And I was talking to, in my department, there's only girls in my department. And I feel like they don't all have children, but they are all older than me. And there's one of them who's Canadian, but most of them are immigrants like me. And it's been it's funny. Okay. So it's very interesting. At first I got a high school vibe because, and I thought it was really weird because they were older and I was like, why are you acting like this is high school? Because they would like, like gossip about someone else and like the manager or something. Not in a bad way, just like gossipy. Like, oh, they did this or I heard that or something, you know? And I was like, huh, interesting. I just wasn't expecting it. But then after that first experience, I started like talking to them and wanting to know about their stories and things like that. And it felt very, not quite intimate per se, but like I feel like we're on the same boat, and sharing that experience makes me feel close to you as a person. Just like listening to other people's immigration stories, that are not from your own country, because your situation in your own country. Yeah. And when these other countries, you maybe have some sort of stereotype idea of like what their country is like. But then listening to them and their personal story and where they've been and how they got here, why they're here. Yeah. And it's very nice. And I was talking to one of the girls about it, and to two of the girls. And we were all sort of agreeing on this. Yes, Canada is very nice and very polite, but not particularly warm and friendly or fuzzy.
I wonder, that has made me think, as a little bit of a segue, of how there is this I find in my brain there's a correlation between climate and people's friendliness or warmth. So here it's cold as fuck and people are the same way.
But they're still nice because they could be
they're still nice.
Cold and assholes.
Yeah, they could. Yes.
They are nice and polite.
They're nice and polite.
It's cold, but it's snowy.
Sure.
You know, it's nice.
Yeah.
If you like snow.
Yeah.
We think snow is pretty. But yes. And I thought it was very interesting because this girl, one of the girls that I was talking to, she's from Iran. And we were agreeing on like warm people and fussy and I had no idea that people because in my head, in my very narrow perception, Latin people are the warm and fuzzy of the bunch. But of course, like, I don't know that many different people, right? But, you know, in this stereotype idea of the world, Latin people are the, like, party, fuzzy, warm people, as far as I know, right?
Yeah.
But then to listen to this girl from Iran telling me that they are, like, because she was saying, in my country, it's very normal to, like, just ring someone up and be like, oh, I'm coming over to your house. And I was like, we're very like that. And you can go to people's houses and you can stay the night and you can call someone and be like, hey, you want to go eat right now? And they'll go, you know? And it's very like that. And apparently, it's not a thing here. You know, it's like, oh, you have to make appointments to see your people.
That's, which sounds so exhausting.
Just like, even though, yes, exhausting, but more than that, to me, it's just a little sad.
Yeah.
But I think that's because of where we come from. And I was telling her, it's even very, you know, this thing of like, my niece was telling me how she really wants to go to a party. But a party in Mexico means that you're going to meet the friend of the friend of the friend of the friend that you invited because they're your friend. Yeah. And everybody becomes friends. And you meet new people and there's like, I don't know, 50 people in the party and half of them you didn't know. Yeah. And everybody is just drinking with everybody and, you know, random people show up and you're like, oh, hi. You know? Yeah. And I was telling her about how my niece wants to party like Mexico and all these people, right? Yes. But apparently here, that's not how it works because my niece was telling me, like, they don't do that here. Like, 4 to 8 people will gather at a house, and that's a party.
What?
That's what she said. But not in that way. But that's what she told me. Like, that's their party.
That's not a party.
Apparently, that's what a party is.
What the hell?
Dude, for high schoolers here. Maybe she just doesn't know the right people.
I mean, yeah.
For a crazy party. For a Mexican party.
Maybe she needs a rave. Maybe a rave is what, you know? And what is that?
I don't know. But, so the girl that I was talking to about it, she was like, yeah, no, I understand that. And it's very different here. Which I thought was very intriguing. Because I was telling her, Mexico is not an immigrant country. In Mexico, you just have Mexicans. Yeah. Yeah. You know, 99%. Yeah. And that includes, like, from indigenous people to Whitexicans, right? Yes. And there are differences between people, but we're all Mexicans. It's very rare. Like, you have to be in school to, the exchange student or whatever. Or, like, I told her there's these little towns where, you know, retirees go to, and they're like from Canada and Germany and whatever. Yeah. And that's the extent of international people.
We're being in the Colonia Roma in Mexico City full of Americans,
Exactly. But mostly, Mexico just has Mexicans. Yeah. So it was very intriguing because I was telling her, then I feel like, I wonder if Canada, by being an immigrant country, then I asked her, do you feel like the immigrants kind of get together, like find the warmth that Canada doesn't have with each other? I don't know that she knew how to answer to that. Like maybe, I guess, you know?
No, I guess I can see that. Like, at least in school, there's a bunch of, especially because the majority of international students are Indian. So it's very easy to see how they get together. And when there's school events, you always see a group of Indian people dancing because they play Indian music. And they dance and they party, and like they are their own party, which is hilarious. And I'm like, why isn't that everywhere? Why doesn't that happen with all kinds of people, you know?
But you mean like mixed or like each their own?
Whichever, any of the two.
Well, I mean, if it's each their own, maybe because there's not enough people for the party.
I mean, but I think there's more than enough Canadians for a party, you know?
No, right, but I don't mean the Canadians, because maybe they're not into the party.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you have the Indians or the Latin Americans. Yeah. Because I feel like if you have enough Latin Americans, they'll have their own party.
But, you know, even with Latin Americans, I feel like there's... so I was talking to this girl who's Mexican, whom I met very randomly one day when I was walking back. And it was funny because I saw her and I was like, oh, she looks so Mexican. Which before, I don't know, I had never thought about it. Like, we're identifiable. Maybe not everyone is identifiable as a Mexican, but she was very clearly, I don't know, preppy Mexican kid. And it turns out she's from Monterrey, and she's, you know, and we started talking, and I said that I found myself missing speaking Spanish, which I thought was an interesting experience. But anyway, so we were talking, and I said, and she was like, "Oh, just you know, call me up whenever you want to talk to someone in Spanish. All my friends are Mexican here." And I was like,
where are they?
Yeah, exactly. Where are they? I just know 2 other Mexican girls who live on my floor. And they're nice. I talk to them. They're not my friends necessarily.
They're friendly.
But yeah. But there's this guy who is close to being a friend. He's Colombian, but not quite. You know, it's like, yeah. So we're in class together. We have talks sometimes. We have had lunch together. We have spoken on the bus when we're heading to school. But that's the thing that I was telling my aunt. There's no follow-up. There's no, oh, let's hang out. Or, oh, you know, I'm doing this with my friends. Why don't you come over? Which I would expect from a Latin American person.
Yeah, I would too.
But it's not the case. So I'm just wondering, is it that they get too assimilated by Canada that they lose that welcomeness and that warmth and that friendliness, or what is it? Because, and yesterday when I was talking to my aunt explaining all this, she said, and this is what I found kind of interesting in the way she phrased it, like, you'll warm them up to you, like that, like you'll warm them up to you instead of you'll warm up to them, kind of. And I thought, interesting. I mean, I can
Does
see
that mean that they're cold?
Yeah. There's one implication there of them being cold and distant, which I think they are. Most people are. And
we're talking about the non-Canadians.
No, now we're talking about everyone in general. Like,
right, but I feel like we were very specifically talking about like a warm culture, not being as warm here.
Yeah. But I mean, like, because she said it in a more general context. So it's, you'll warm them up to you. And which I have found funny is that, yes, some of them I have warmed up to me. Interestingly enough, they are Swedes, which are also cold people. And
well, but maybe they're Indian. So rare. Well, I don't know about the Indian, but because you have this thing of speaking Swedish, you know, I feel like that's like a very easy connector.
It is, especially because there's so few of them that whenever, it's like when you find someone in the wild that can speak Swedish, they're like, oh my god,
I must adopt them.
Yeah, which is really cute.
Yeah.
And then the others have been 2 girls from my class who are also like, they're both Hindi, I think. And they are super nice. And I was talking to one of them, and we were now like, this is the first person that I have made plans with. Like, oh yeah, let's have dinner together. And because we were studying and this group of 4, it was 1 Mexican girl and 2 Indian girls. And we were talking and studying together for this test. And at the end of it, the other day when we were talking, we were like, oh, you know what? We should have dinner to celebrate that we're done with the exam. And one of them said, oh, yeah, because I want to make you real chai. And I want to make curry for you.
Oh,
and I was like, oh,
that's so cute.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, see, that's adorable. And then I was just talking to her this morning when I was on the bus. And I said, I feel like we're very similar. You know, I find a lot of similarities between Indian culture and Mexican culture, and the conception that we have of family and the closeness that we can have in relationships with friends or with acquaintances in a very different way than the Canadian ones. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, yeah, I totally get it. I agree 100%. That is very true. La la la.
I wonder if
so, yeah.
Sorry, like just because of what you said, I wonder if Canadians have that same perception of being distant, not call them cold, mm-hmm. or like if they feel maybe that several different immigrant cultures are maybe too much to not call them being warm in comparison.
I think, I mean, the
or like what is their experience of the other cultures?
So my experience with Canadian friends so far has been that they love, in a very, you know, American touristy way, they love other countries that are warmer and nicer, because they're like, oh, you can make friends really easily, and that's very nice, and people are welcoming, and you feel very loved, I guess, and it's easy to make connections with other people. And here it's not, which is what I heard when I first got here from my Canadian friends. Mm-hmm. And another comment was, it depends on where you are. Like, it's not the same in Vancouver than it is in Calgary, for example. So Vancouver is way more, what's the word? Distant than Calgary, for example.
Really?
Yeah.
And I would have thought the other way.
I think especially it can be, Calgary, I've heard there's this concept of them being more like cowboys out in the country and, you know, that kind of thing. So if you have that sort of small town country vibe that exudes more warmth and closeness than this city that is cold and distant and everybody's busy all the time, going from one place to the other, being very ambitious and very driven, which can also lead to being lonelier and more disconnected on your day-to-day life to the people.
Just as a note, now I really want to ask people if they sat together before COVID.
That'd be interesting to know.
Right?
I mean, the thing is, I feel like after the COVID thing ended, people went back to normal interactions without a problem. I have that.
So then your hypothesis is that they sat separate this whole time.
Yeah. Which still is very baffling. I don't understand why. I mean, I guess it's a personal space thing. I keep going back to this thing from high school about cultural differences and how there's this, I think I've said this before, but there was this article that we read that spoke about how if there's a networking event and there's a room where there's an Indian man and an American man, the Indian will try to get closer and closer and closer, and the American will try to go farther and farther back, because the Indian needs to be physically close to the person, and the American needs their personal space, right? So I think it has to do with that, like that sense of personal space.
But here,
if you're sitting this close to someone cultures that you don't know, no, I know. That's the thing. But what I'm wondering is, how much do people assimilate into that? You know?
Right, because then my idea would be, like, how come there isn't this? Because there's not even, like, two people at the same table.
Yeah.
There's not even that. And I've seen them talking to each other from like different corners of the room, and I'm just like, why aren't you sitting together? Like, it baffles me. And people from the same culture, people from the same country, why aren't they sitting together if they have the same lunch break? They work in the same place. They are friendly, at least. They might be friends. Why aren't they sitting together? I don't know. I'll ask. If I really wonder. I do want to know.
Yeah.
But yes. So now, to the thing that really interests us. The younger guy. This kid.
Is when I just want to mention that when we said to talk about this, I specifically said I don't want to talk about this because this feels very, like very new, very close to home. Like we share a lot of stuff here. We do, but there's a line, you know.
Is there?
I feel like there is.
And this is where you draw the line?
No. The thing is, with the kid. He is a kid.
It's not that bad. Don't think it's illegal.
Jesus.
He's young. He's just on the younger
I feel
side.
like there's a lot. Maybe it's a temporal ban, like a grace period between things happening and then talking about them, especially in front of a camera with a microphone. But anyway, so the kid.
See, she does want to talk about it.
I mean, I can go on for hours if you ask me about it, you know. But the thing started again with the high school feelings and stuff because he is younger than me, and because it got me back. It took me back to when I was in high school, and I liked this guy that was in our class. And I never did anything about it. I was obnoxious about it. I don't know how you stood, like how you were standing me. I have no idea.
That is how much I love her.
But I was seriously an asshole. Like, horrible.
But the thing is, okay, and I hope this portrays. It's not just to talk about the kid.
Yeah.
It's because you're going through something.
Yeah, it's a path. It's character development.
Yes, exactly. That's what I want you to see. I want you to let's just listen to her. Okay, continue.
Anyway, so the thing was, in high school, I liked this guy. I never did anything about it. I let it go. I let it, sort of happen without doing much about it. So the other day, when we were talking about this, and again with the high school feeling and everything, I felt the high school feeling
that you felt?
That I felt, I was on that same sort of mental space of, oh my god, what am I gonna do? You know, like, should I say something? Should I not say something? No. And what prompted me to actually want to do something or say something or like try to talk to him more was that in spite of this whole thing that we've been rambling about for the last 40 minutes, this guy was someone that was very easy to talk to. And I ran into him a couple times and we would like strike up a conversation and it wouldn't feel like forced. With other people. Yeah, it doesn't feel forced and it doesn't feel like small talky. Which it like many times it was, you know?
But there's a feeling about like, what do I say next?
Yeah, there's no feeling like that. There's no okay, goodbye, you know? So there was that going. We had that going for it. And then I didn't know whether he had a girlfriend or not.
Still don't know.
Yeah, still don't know. We're 95% sure he has a girlfriend. But there's no certainty yet. So it was like this whole pile up of things, which then took me back to not doing anything, not saying anything, being paralyzed with fear and anxiety over talking to him, or not even talking to him, but I just found myself trying to see him Like trying to catch a glimpse of him wherever he might be.
That like tingly hope of like, ooh, am I gonna see them now? Or, you know, like, will I run into them on the stairs? Things like that.
But it started to become crippling for a couple of days last week, which I don't believe in that. It's not my thing. But I kept seeing those memes about the eclipse and like your vibes and blah blah blah. And so it was between that and my period, and like my brain was going insane.
Yeah.
Anyway. So then I went to you, and I was like, there's this thing that I now I'm aware of, how in the past I have this childhood trauma of telling guys I like them and them running in the opposite direction. Saying, like I said, think you're next, but that's basically the feeling there. Which then contrasted with one of my friends one time, also a long time ago, saying that, oh my god, no, if a girl tells a guy that they like him, then like a switch is flipped in their brain. And maybe at first they'll be like, I don't know, maybe no thank you.
But then like she'll be in his radar somehow.
Yes, exactly. So that made me want to give it a shot at some point. And so I was at this crossroads where I thought, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to say anything about it. And I had this huge problem with not admitting that I like him, because that was not a problem.
Yeah, no.
But giving into the feeling was a problem.
Yes, what I said was that you were negating your feelings.
Yes, that's what you said. Because I was very... My brain kept going like, oh, you're fucked because you like him. Like, there's no going back. There's no solution to the problem.
Right. See, and this is the thing, because I was talking to Paolo the other day. I think it was after I was with you and the bicha, my niece, because now we hang out a lot.
Yes.
Outside of work. And which is really nice.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him because I was like, I don't appreciate, because in what I mean by that is that I don't particularly like that you guys are going through this in a painful way. Well, I think maybe the bicha might enjoy it a little more, because I think she still sees it from this like, oh, I'm a teenager and this is the way it goes, and I'm living that experience, and like, you know, I'm where I'm supposed to be, and and the drama is part of it, so it's okay.
Exactly.
But I feel like you were against the experience.
Yeah, I think so. My it was funny because two things were happening at the same time, and I think I said it to you. Like, so my starting point here was, as a part of the going to Canada experience, I might date people, I might go out with some guys, see where that goes, but I don't want to fall in love with anyone, or I'm not looking for that right now, you know? Which, I don't know how much to believe myself there, but anyway. And then, in my mind, this whole plan was being screwed up by actually liking a guy.
The kid.
Yeah, the cute kid. Because, you know, things were seemingly going well. Like, I was talking to a couple guys on Bumble, very nonchalantly, very non-committally, I can't speak. But anyway, like, just dating around, basically. Which I felt good about. Like, that's fine. I'm doing something. I'm seeing where this goes, having fun, whatever. But being very detached about it.
Yeah.
And here comes this kid with his cute eyes.
Oh, the eyes. That's how they get you.
Yes, that's how they get you. And that's where I'm like, fuck. You know? Why is this derailing from the plan? Like, this is where we're headed, and we're going the opposite direction.
And here I come, and I'm like, but why the like, what's wrong with it? Why are you trying to stay away from it?
It was mostly because the excuse that I kept giving myself was I want to get distracted from all the things that I want to be doing. But the truth of it really is that I don't want to get hurt again. And it was funny because when I was talking to him one of the times, he said that he wants to be heartbroken so that he can do good music, basically. And I was like, I mean, jokingly, I thought, oh, I can bring it for you. But at the same time, I was like, do you even know what you're saying? Like, it's horrible. You don't really want it. Trust me. I mean, it's a good life experience, but how much do you want it really, you know? I wouldn't wish that pain on anybody. I wouldn't be calling it
to me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't.
Exactly.
But I guess, you know, it's part of the lack of experience of a younger person.
Yeah. So it was hard to come to terms with liking a guy and liking him enough in a way to be anxious about it, to be, oh fuck, you know?
Right. I mean, what I thought about it was that it's exactly the negating that gives you the anxiety.
Yeah. I agree with that statement now. I do. Because, so now I've thought about it more, and since that week, I think that was a week ago, almost, that we had that conversation, I ran into him this morning. It was funny because he was with this suspected girlfriend. And I just, like, for 1 second that felt like forever, I just looked at him.
Not creepy at all.
No. I mean, we looked at each other. It was not, I was not staring.
Okay. Good.
And I was like, I do like your kid. And the strategy changed. It was more like, I'm happy to run into him. I'm not anxious about it, or I'm not, like, nervously going places to see if I
you also had the art. Is it the art of loving in English?
I don't know. I was wondering about that when I said it to you.
I would think that it is the art of loving.
I think so too. Yeah, I had that again, which when I wrote it down, I think it was last night or something, the memory came back to me of having that same thought process back in high school with this kid from our school.
Oh, you had it back then too?
Yeah, I did, because I started reading it the first high school. And there was this, it's one of the opening, I don't know if it's the opening line, but it's like at the beginning of the book that it says that you should love
without
unconditionally, and what it means is truly without expectations and without needing to be loved back, and without having to have whatever actions you do from that love reciprocated to you. It's more like just love and be happy that you do, and be like endeavor to make people happy with your love. Not that their happiness depends on you, but that you give love freely without expecting it back.
That's hitting me home with my own thing.
And that can be another cup of tea.
Yes, that would definitely need to be a different cup of tea. But all right, continue.
So I'm trying to go back to that and embrace the feeling of, it's okay that I like him. It's okay that he knows that I like him. I'm still trying to fully accept that that last one.
Because what I was saying, when we were talking about it, and trying to get to the thing of it, what I was saying to you about you're negating it and you just need to accept it, beyond the fact that the fight with yourself is what was giving you anxiety.
Yeah.
It's that I feel like it could be more empowering to, because I'm going towards this stereotype and not so much specifically about you, but I feel like there's a certain shame to having feelings, shame to like someone, and maybe they won't like you back.
Yeah.
And at some point we were talking about how from talking to our guy friends, I feel like at some point they just had to accept that they would be rejected and just keep going, which is something that, at least in the proximity of our experience, which means like ourselves and the girls close to us, there's not that direct rejection in the way that there is for guys, because guys kind of have had to actively go up to a girl and tell them that they like her.
Yeah.
Where I feel like us, we kind of wait for a guy, we hint at the guy, we sneak into the guy somehow, but there's not such a direct, hey, I like you. Hey, do you want to go out with me?
Yeah.
Especially maybe when we were younger, I feel like now it's more valid. It's always been valid, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's that, and I think a little bit of what it translated into in this case was like, take more that attitude of a guy and like, you know, try to hit the home run, and if it doesn't work, you know, the next one might.
And the thing there was, I see it, I'm doing it, but I'm not doing it with the person that I actually care about. You know?
Right. You did say that you do that when it's someone that you don't particularly care. But then...
I know. It just, like, it takes me back to the thing that you were saying at first of we don't... maybe not necessarily stigma, but there's this thing of shame about liking someone. I would say shame, though. I would say more because you're being vulnerable and you don't want to be. You know, there's that thing of, I don't want to have my little heart crushed by their rejection or, you know. So that's where I was.
Do you also see like the empowerment of accepting your feelings without caring if they get you somewhere?
Yeah, I do know. It's especially... because of the combination of all the things we've already said. And because I think it's just, now that the past 2 or 3 days that I've been thinking about it that way, have felt actually different. In more of there's more of a state of joy now about it, instead of anguish. So it's more like about enjoying... I'm trying to see it as when you have a crush on an actor, where it's just like, it's just nice to see their face, you know? I'm watching True Blood again. I just love to see Alexander Skarsgård's face. He's beautiful. Right. So it's kind of like that.
Okay.
And
like an appreciation of their existence.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. I still think that you should go up to him and be like, hey, do you have a girlfriend?
I will. I just don't want it to, because the last 2 or 3 times I've seen him, she's been in the vicinity.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that with her around because no.
Just ask him.
Yeah. Yes. I will.
And that way you can decide if then he needs to stay at a celebrity or if he can actually be the guy that you like, where you know, flirt a little more.
Yeah.
Or maybe be direct and be like, all right, well, just wanted to know because I like you. Want to see if something could happen. Yeah.
I don't know that I'm there yet, though.
All right.
I don't know that
Well, but first of all, we need to know if he has a girlfriend.
Yes, we do. We do.
Or rather than if he has a girlfriend, I guess if he's available.
Yeah.
Which is a different question.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, as a parenthesis, it's been so interesting, and I think I've told you this. The amount of people on Bumble that are ethically non-monogamous here is incredible to me. It's kind of weird. I don't know how to feel about it.
I'm very intrigued as to how many of those are authentic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And not just an excuse to
fuck around.
Yeah. Because fucking around is fine if your partner consents to it. Mm-hmm. Right? So.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, there's that.
There is indeed.
All right. Well, there you go. That's the story of our socializing, plus the fact that she likes a kid. Just as a nickname. Don't worry about it. I will say, we were of the idea of liking older men, older guys.
Yes.
But the more like little experiences keep happening, or like, you know, you like the younger person, another friend of ours likes a younger person, another friend of mine likes a younger person. I'm like, yeah, there is something happening here where the younger generation, you know, I recommend.
As a side, I don't know if I actually told you this or if I just thought about it, but I kept finding myself, apart from the comment of I want to have my heart broken, I just keep thinking of stuff, and this, I don't want to judge myself about it. I'm letting the thought come to me and just, you know, like very in a meditative sort of way, coming and going. I keep thinking of things I want to talk to him about in a bit more
like
of a...
teach him?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Do I have a teacher complex? Is that what this is?
Exactly.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. But that is very interesting. Curiouser.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what it is. Just in the... I don't even know how to like phrase this. Of like, do you think there was an actual concept of like, it is quote unquote better to date older men?
No, I think in my brain they just were sexier. I mean, there's this thing, right? Like common knowledge / wisdom, like quote unquote wisdom, of because women age before men, then if you find a guy that's older than you, then you're like kind of in the same place.
My brother was saying that to me today. And I wonder if he meant like a certain biological, chemical way, or in a cultural way, where is that thing that we were saying in an episode of Pockets in the Universe, with the girls about moving in with your partner, where culture is like, oh, girls mature before boys. And the girls were like, no, girls are made to mature before boys because they're held more accountable and responsible than boys are. Yeah. So I just wonder if it's in that sense of maturity, or I
think it's a combination of both.
Okay. I can see that.
And I mean, there's also the generalization of the older you are, the more experience you have. So it's like nicer to have maybe a partner that has more experience than you do for certain things. You know?
Interesting. Right. At least in my experience. And of course, I can't take my experiences to be determining of like a generation, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if somehow when I was with an older person, even though, I mean, there was a bigger gap between us than there is with me and my boyfriend now. There was a bigger gap. So the places in which we were personally were too different for us to handle.
Yeah.
As opposite here, even though there is a gap, it is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I guess like there's so many factors that go into this.
Mm-hmm.
But at least here, I don't know if it's the gap, if it's the level of communication that we have, if it's, so many other things. Or there is an actual something happening where it's like we're turning our sight from older men. Because I feel like if I wanted to be kind of what can be the word here? If I wanted to be scandalous about it,
Mm-hmm.
I could say that the older men are already kind of set in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And a younger generation of men could have a more centennial thing of men can't cry is something that
okay, I see.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That thing, and at least again in my experience now with a younger guy, there is so much.
I mean, they both are centennials.
Who are you talking about?
Both your current boyfriend and my current.
But I am comparing my current boyfriend and my ex-boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like there's different generations there.
There are, yeah.
So there is so much openness, communication, honesty, emotions, and just feelings, and just
Yeah.
So maybe there is that, in a scandalous way. It's scandalous is not the word I'm looking for. So if you want to give me the word that I'm looking for, I'd appreciate it. But this kind of thing where to say that there's this difference with like the older generation is still set in certain past concepts, traditions, ways, habits, attitudes. And then maybe a newer generation isn't. And I feel like maybe boys and girls can be more equal, not just in a yes, girls work and the whole feminism thing, but also in a way, because if we want to be equal, I feel like then there's girls fighting for same salaries and opportunities and things, but then guys also need to catch up on the emotional side of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like a younger generation is kind of closer
I see what you mean.
into that than an older generation. So maybe we really are getting more into younger guys. And it's not just us. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know, though.
I don't know either. We're just speculating.
Yeah. Yes. We'll keep you posted.
Or you can keep us posted if you have anything to say, if you know of anything. Any thoughts, comments, experiences? Any recommendations that you've been...
I was thinking about it on the way here. And I just kept... I don't know if I already mentioned this. Well, I can go with the trusty one that I know I haven't mentioned. But I gave you the other day, which was using Dr. Jart, because it's wonderful.
We do like it.
And my recommendation was, I've been planning, like this has been on my recommendation list of stuff that I do remember that I want to recommend. Because like during the pandemic, I got a sample. Like when you order stuff from Sephora online, they always give you samples, which I love. So when I bought my actual makeup that I use, which is a Dr. Jart thing, they gave me a sampler thingy of what's it called? Control A is the name of the thing. It's just a moisturizer, but it's a tea tree oil one. The tea tree mint.
I like it.
Which I loved it, and then I just fell in love with the whole idea of Dr. Jart and stuff. And I don't know, I really like what it does to my face. So I recommended it to you. And you really liked it as well.
I am very happy about it.
So that's my recommendation. Try Dr. Especially if you, I mean, of course, take care of your skin, whatever. skincare routine you may have. But if you tend to have either rosacea or acne problems, I feel like especially it's really good for that.
I have very oily skin, and my hormones and my acne were acting up a little bit while ago. It's getting better right now. But I really liked it. I think it actually works. It's been very nice on my oily face. So yeah, recommend. Yes.
Yes. And on that note, I guess we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Cool. Bye.
Thanks for sharing a cup of tea with us.
To watch more episodes of A Cup of Tea, click the link on the right. If you want to watch Pockets in the Universe, go to the playlist on the left.